So some people keep asking or saying, why don't you just let it go? Just let it go. Move on. And you're a parent. It's your child. Let it go and move on. Let it go and move on. I didn't let it go and move on when I fought and filed to try and see my kid. So let it go. Move on. You're talking about your own child. Your own kid. Let it go and move on. All my court records are all public records. If I didn't care or didn't worry or wanted to just move on, if I didn't want to be a father and I just wanted to be a deadbeat dad or whatever you want to say it is, I would not file papers so many times. I've always did what I was supposed to do by court standards and their procedures, and not one time did they ever enforce it. To have my ex Chrissy bring my daughter to the safety center for me to visit with her and see her. Not one time did they say to her, you know, you need to bring that kid. He has court-ordered rights to see his kid every other weekend at a safety center, but not one time did she ever bring the kid. They turned it on me and said it was my fault. From the first time that I was supposed to see my kid, Chrissy went and filled out her paperwork over a week after from the first date I was supposed to see her. Court ordered, first date I was supposed to see her, waited over a week to go and fill out the paperwork at a safety center. So of course I had to file papers and take her back to court. He said I was being vindictive, wasting the court's time and money. Bring a letter straight from the safety center, filing after that, stating that I did everything I did on my part, waiting on her part to go and do her part of it to set it up, and then she claimed she couldn't afford it at the time, that her financial situation has changed. But she had money to go pay and to take a 2-hour class to become a workshop supervisor so she could claim to be a certified supervisor. So her then boyfriend, the convicted child molester, Jeffrey Watney, she could supervise our daughter around this guy. The same guy that was molesting his own child. She was aware of him, used to go to visit him down in jail when he was in jail, when he got charged for it from the beginning. Was 100%. What kind of person, what kind of parent would even put their kid around something like that? A child molester. His own child he was molesting. And people ask me, why don't I just let it go and move on? You're talking 18 years of my life has been turned inside out and drained. Nothing but problems and headaches and stress, and not one time was I ever able to see my daughter, but they said I was being vindictive for taking her to court, to trying to get to court and force her to bring my kid. But instead they put a block on me filing papers and told me I couldn't file it anymore, that I was being vindictive, and I'd have to write a letter to the judge asking permission and let him know what significant changes were made in order for me to even file papers again to take her back to court. But never in all the times I filed did ever any judge tell her or enforce her or say anything in any of the response on the orders after me filing, stating, you need to bring the kid, you need to make the kid available, he has court-ordered rights to see her. Not one time ever did a judge ever order or enforce or even make that comment in any filing or any order after that point, ever. And this is our legal system. It just makes me sick. It's disgusting. How difficult and how hard should it be if you got court-ordered rights to see your kid and they're not bringing the child? You should be able to file papers and the court should enforce it. But for me to file papers so many times, they said I was being vindictive but not one time ever enforced it. Not one time in any paper did they ever tell her, you need to make that child available. So they can say whatever they want about me. Say I'm mentally unstable. Must be mentally unstable to think we got a court system in place that someone would have to go through so much to try and see their kid, and they don't do nothing about it. They don't enforce it. They don't do nothing. Extremely sick, disgusting. It did drive me to the point to suicide, wind up in the psych ward, forced to take medications. It's sickening. Sickening. Didn't know what to do in order to turn. Like, how is there a legal system in place that just works like that? And then again, I have the same encounter of it again before my daughter turns 18, finding out about my daughter living with the convicted child molester, Jeffrey Watney. The period from my daughter being born until today, the damage that it's done. Not seen my daughter since she's been about 1.5 years old. What she thinks of me, what she knows of me, what she thinks of my family, knows of my family, is only what's been pumped into her head and alienated. It's sickening and disturbing. And then to find out a convicted child molester's been around her and living with her. Everything's been through Dakota County. Everything's been through Dakota County. His probation. My court stuff. They're all aware of who the father was. Never been contacted, informed, notified by probation. And they're talking about probation are dealing with people with child molesters. They don't even monitor them or pay attention. Allow them to do whatever they want, live with whoever they want, and they think it's all right and okay, and they say they did their job. Sickening and disturbing. After finding out about this child molester, me calling the probation and digging into it and finding out more and more and more, it turned into criminal charges for me now. Now I have warrants, more court dates, more paperwork, more filing, nothing any closer than from the day one of me filing. I'm trying to see my daughter supervised 18 years ago. But miles away from that point. Probation officer Mark Mell decides I'm not going to answer any more questions or say anything like, oh, clearly we fucked up. We fucked up bad. And, well, I was lucky and smart enough to record all my conversations with these people. Everything they said and everything they told me, I contradicted and showed them fact, physical proof that you're bullshitting and you're lying. The runaround, call this person, call that person. Never got any straight answers. And how they dealt with it, they decided to then ignore me and file a restraining order on me. Had plenty of opportunities to serve me or make me aware of them, or allow me to get copies of them from times when I was at court, or other times that I had to deal with the police now over all this. But instead intentionally hid it, put me in front of a judge. Bruce Ehrman, while going to court back in November. Bruce Ehrman used to be a Scott County assistant attorney. Bruce Ehrman is now a Dakota County judge. That's the judge he put me in front of when Jeffrey Watney tried to file and modify his restraining order on me to try to get me to delete all the stuff that I posted and put out there. Then unfortunately, somehow, a copy of the whole court proceeding wound up online. And it showed clearly as Bruce Ehrman was online looking up why I was inserted by Matt Shepard, the sheriff, on the papers with Jeff Watney in the restraining order. Showed clearly right there when he's looking at that screen that there was papers from Mark Mell that weren't served on me as well. But they served me the papers that I didn't have, that Jeff tried filing on me. They served me them right then and there in court. They could have right then and there in court served me the same papers that Mark Mell filed at that time, or told me or made me a bit aware of it, but they didn't. They chose to do it by publication 2 days after that. They figured I wouldn't know, I wouldn't be aware, and of course I wasn't aware and didn't know, but waited till I called and left voicemails on Mark Mell's answer machine, his work answer machine. Waited till I called and left them, at least 2 of them, so that way it'd not be a misdemeanor, gross misdemeanor. You know, it just enhances one another. Instead of them dealing with the problem when I brought it to their attention, they decided to file a restraining order on me, so I couldn't call and contact them on dealing with anything because they realized they fucking were in the wrong. And then find out, I get a letter in the mail saying I got 2 violations already of a harassment order from the probation officer. Now I got court on that, looking at it, a year probation, jail time, court fines, all recommendations by probation. Then you're talking about anger management, psych eval, drug assessment, alcohol assessment, so on and so forth. Have to go, and now it's costing me all that. All for me finding out a convicted child molester has been around and living with my daughter, and why I was never informed or contacted. Due to that problem alone, if that would have came out, back when I filed all my times I filed on trying to see my own daughter in a safety center, if it would have came out, my daughter was around that and living with that person, significant change would have been made. Significant change would have been made of having my daughter in my life and me seeing her in the way it made a relationship where it is today. And where it is today, nowhere near any closer than I was 18 years ago, but miles away from that point. Now leads to me in criminal charges, going to jail, probation, have to pay fines and fees, and more court dates for posting the recorded conversation of the court proceeding with Bruce Ehrman. Bruce Ehrman now filed and sent me a letter that he's withdrawing himself from any court case with me due to conflict of interest because Bruce Ehrman is friends with Christine Mell. Christine Mell works in Scott County. Christine Mell is friends with Bruce Ehrman on Facebook. Christine Mell is Mark Mell's wife. Mark Mell's the one that filed the restraining order. You wonder why Bruce Ehrman never brought it up when I was at court. You wonder why Bruce Ehrman never said anything about it, period. But now going through the court things, I think they put Bruce Ehrman on the court document thinking that he'll do what they want them to do to get things done, to try and sweep all this under the rug. Instead, Bruce Ehrman realized, no, I'm withdrawing myself from all his cases due to conflict of interest. Me, not knowing that there was a restraining order in place, me calling twice, leaving a voicemail on Mark Mell's answer machine at work. 2 violations that quick. Me, find out about a child molester on my kid, and find out this child molester was not even supposed to be around kids. Court ordered not to have contact, but somehow they were allowing him to live with my kid and have contact with my kid from the age of 5 years old, back in 2008 when they moved in the same house together, when this guy had a no contact order to be around kids. They allowed it and let it go, didn't do anything about it. They want to turn around and claim that Chrissy was a certified supervision person for kids. This is from Project Pathfinder. Visitation, supervision. All she did is took a workshop, a 2-hour workshop. They claiming this was good enough for her to become a certified supervisor for child visitation. First of all, she's not a certified, she's not a supervisor. All this was a workshop to let you know and awareness and what to look for, just for if someone's a convicted child molester like Jeff Watney. If you're going to have him around family at like a barbecue or something, this is just to give people a framework of what to look out for, what to protect, and what kind of things to look out for. This doesn't make her a certified supervisor. This is someone that took a 2-hour workshop. But if they want to claim that this is what it is, and it is what it is, and what they want to say it is, and play it how it isn't not, but they want to say it is. That little 2-hour workshop. That little 2-hour workshop right here was done in 2005. They bought a house and moved it in together in 2008. If you do your little 2-hour annually thing, which was not done, so that one was only good for 1 year from 2005 to 2006. That does not make her a certified supervised visitation worker or anything of that sort, but took a 2-hour workshop If they wanted to use that as an example and say she's certified and so on and so forth, this is Dakota County's guideline on what it is. Every year you have to go back and do that 2 hours all over again. Never was that done. There ain't no proof, none on that. They just show that, just try to sweep it under the rug and figure that's as far as it'd go. But on the other hand, here's the supervision guidelines. Training requirements for professional and therapeutic supervision. There's your minimum qualifications. Training requirements to become a professional one. Don't see none of that being done. Nonetheless, every individual professional orthopedic supervisor or every agency on behalf of its supervisors shall upon request provide a sworn affidavit stating that the responsible person providing supervision has successfully completed the requirements of the training. So nonetheless, none of that was ever done. So now Dakota County now just again put a minor child at the age of 5 years old in danger of a convicted pedophile child molester, Jeffrey Michael Watney. Again, solid fact proof, again, backing up. Everything by their grounds and by their standards and by their playbook, again, proven. Neglect, child endangerment. But instead they did whatever they want. They allowed a convicted child molester to do whatever he wants, when all along has been court ordered, no contact. They choose not to do anything about it, won't acknowledge it, won't say anything, and claim they did their job proper. And people tell me, oh, just let it go. Just let it go when it's your own kid, when it's your child. Well, just let it go when it takes 18 years of your life and flips it upside down and turns it inside out and just rips everything apart, destroys any kind of relationship you have with your child after that point, due to the damage of it's caused. These probation officers, these child protection workers, are still working at Dakota County. Not held responsible. No responsibility. No accountability. But just tell me pretty much to fuck off and that's it. Go on with your life. What life? What life is there? What did you leave me with after ripping it apart and destroying it like that? And allow your workers to still work there and then continuously to do it to other people? This has been going on in my argument and fighting with these people. Started before Eli Hart and what happened to him. My dealings and finding out about this convicted child molester on my kid had started out before they gave custody to Eli's mom. During my process and procedure of going through all this, during that time, find out about courts awarding custody of a child to a mother, and then the outcome of what happens with that when they know the significance and the damage and the problem that would cause by putting that kid around someone like that, and what the outcome was. And they allowed it and did it anyways. During the middle of all my problem with dealing with Dakota County, that's what happened in the middle of it all. And I'm still dealing with it, and they don't even acknowledge or even say any wrongdoing. It shows the history and the repeatedness of Dakota County and their child protection, their social services, their probation, and they claim they're doing their job and they're making our people safe and protecting children. They're not doing any of that, nothing whatsoever. It ain't nothing but another number to them. A 5-gallon bucket full of water and you dip your hand and pull it out. You notice the difference of that water in that bucket? That's all we are to them. Now just move on and let it go. Just move on and let it go. My life moving forward, what do I got left? Now I got probation, court, and probably get more probation with all the other stuff, and jail time, and court fines, and court fees. That's what I got left. And still nothing, no closer than anything to do with my daughter or seeing my daughter. I don't see him doing anything to fix it or resolve it or even address that any wrongdoing when I showed repeatedly over and over child endangerment, neglect. A probation officer that's supposed to respond and protect when you're dealing with a convicted child molester. No, not only are you supposed to worry about him, you got to worry about the safety of him around kids. But you allowed it and put him around a kid. Sickening and disturbing.